What's going on, guys? Welcome back to, hands down, will be the most interesting episode of Financial Freedom Fastlane, and will likely be one of the most interesting pieces of content from a storytelling perspective that I've ever done. All right, so stay tuned, tapped in. You know who it is, it's your host, George Ashenpong, and every single Monday we bring you this content. And it is my desire in time to be super thematic with the content and curated and have all the vibes, all the things, the segments. But as I keep telling you guys, I'm being super transparent and building out loud when it comes to this particular show and really everything that I do. Sorry if I'm rubbing my eyes. It'll make sense in a second. And I've also explored just being really transparent and vulnerable about the process of being able to even remain consistent. I'm a new father, as you guys know. I'm a husband, serial entrepreneur. I have a lot of different things going on, and I made the audacious goal to create this show so I can provide you guys more value. And when I say I'm going to do something, I want to stick to it, right? So now that I'm saying it's going to drop every Monday, and we're not currently curating this show in a seasoned format, that means rain, sleet, or snow, I got to get this show done. So today was originally going to be about the inconvenience of success. Right? It is inconvenient to be successful. And I wanted to talk about that because initially it was just going to be about the fact that I'm flew down to Atlanta, Georgia from Charlotte. I had a speaking engagement that same day. So my flight was scheduled to get there like around 3:00. I was supposed to have like a little bit of lag time between the speaking engagement at 7. Flight got delayed. And so I didn't end up getting here until about 5:30, especially with that Atlanta traffic, right? And so I had to do that speaking engagement. And then right after as soon as I land, get changed in the hotel, do the speaking engagement, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, great. I can have a second to debrief because I got to fly out really early in the morning. Of course, it doesn't go that way. Speaking engagement goes well. A lot of people want to connect with me after the speaking engagement. And that in itself was about another hour and a half. So you figure the speaking engagement was from like 7 to 8:15. And then from 8:15 till about, let's call it 9:45, 10-ish. And then the host of the conference wanted of course, all the speakers and her friends to go out to dinner. I'm like, okay, can't turn that down. So before you know it, it's about 1:00, right? And to kind of back up a little bit, I'm in a new season where I'm also recommitting to my health journey at a higher level, right? So I just hired a new fitness and nutrition coach because I am a firm believer that if you want to go far in life, you hire people, right? You find the person who's done it at the highest level and you get them to coach you to expedite your journey. Have I done it on my own before? Absolutely. But if I'm being super honest with you guys in this new season of parenthood and all the things that I'm juggling, I just needed that extra kick in the butt. But with that being said, the timing of when I've started, right, was inconvenient with the commitment required to fulfill the obligation from the new coach with my travel schedule. However, as you guys know, it could always be something, right? In January, it could be, oh, my son's birthday, let's get past that. In February, oh, it's Valentine's Day, it's my wife's birthday. In March, oh, I got this trip, I got that. So I made a decision that regardless of what I had going on, I was going to commit. So what that means is, even though I'm not a big drinker, I'm out with the crew, I'm only drinking water, right? It means I got to squeeze a workout in even though I'm super tired before the speaking engagement. It means that I have to travel with my supplements like my protein, my multivitamins and all this stuff with me in my suitcase. Not necessarily that convenient, but success oftentimes most likely is going to be inconvenient. And so that was going to be kind of the crux of the show. And I was going to talk about some of the inconvenient elements. Like, for example, I'm flying out today, which I'll unpack in a little bit, to Medellin, Colombia. As you guys know, co-host of the Melanin Money Show, also my business partner, he is currently residing in Colombia. And so we decided to do our company retreat for Q1 in Colombia. And so I was supposed to fly out this morning, which I made every attempt to do, which I'm going to get into. And that's where things get really interesting. But I say all that to say that over there, I have the full podcast set up. I got my mic, a guest mic, headphones, the switchboard and all that. And I never travel with that stuff. But I'm like, if we're really going to take our content to the next level, I can't not travel with it because it's inconvenient. That was my excuse for not traveling. It's like, who wants to carry a whole separate suitcase for podcast equipment? And so I refused to travel with it in the past. And I was like, well, let's just make sure we have a high quality camera or at least, and then try to get it done. But he's like, man, we really need that equipment. So I was like, all right, cool. So brought the equipment. So now I'm walking around not only my big suitcase with a bunch of stuff in it, my supplements, and I'm walking around with another suitcase that has my podcast equipment. And then mind you, it's pretty heavy. So every time, and that's the bag that I checked, I'm like, they be just tossing around the regular luggage, right? But if I got clothes and stuff in there, I'm cool. So I decided to bring it as a carry. I'm pointing to it like y'all can see it. I decided to bring it as a carry-on, but I didn't realize how heavy it is because the base of the microphones have these really solid, what do you call them? I don't know, like cinder blocks, but like these really solid blocks or bases so that when the mic's on the table, like it doesn't, rock or whatever, because the actual microphone itself is pretty solid and pretty heavy. And so I got that, I'm lugging that around, and because it's so heavy and obscure, when I'm going through TSA, every single time, which will make sense in a little bit, they're stopping me, pulling me to the side, checking the suitcase, trying to figure out what it is, which, is cool. That's, protocol. But in this scenario, it made it a little more inconvenient. Based upon the set of circumstances, it's almost like I attracted a higher level of inconvenience, but it'll make all the worthwhile for this story. So as it stands right now, I am in the American Express Lounge in Miami, Florida. Okay, I currently have a layover waiting on my flight to go to Colombia. And let me tell you guys. So as I mentioned previously, I got to sleep around, I'll call it 1:30, and I couldn't really doze off, so it might have been even 2 o'clock. And I had to, in order to be on time for an international flight, and with Atlanta, where the airport was in relation to the hotel, I needed to be up no later than about 4 o'clock. So you're looking at a best case scenario, 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half rest time, right? So I probably don't look like what I've been through. So, okay, cool. I'm like, I'll thug it out. It's no big deal. I'll get to Colombia at 2. I don't have any obligations this Sunday. I'll just lay it down and catch up. Right? I get to the airport. On the way to the airport, well, actually, while I'm in the hotel, I'm trying to check in and saying, hey, you got to have this immigration form and you got to have a COVID test. Mind you, I'm not thinking about COVID tests because I'm like, who's still asking for a COVID test? So that's the last thing that I'm thinking about, is that they're going to be asking me for a COVID test, right? So like, boom, bet. So I got to figure that out. So I figured that out, how I can get a negative COVID test. I'll leave it at that. And then I got to figure out this immigration form. So I'm trying to complete this immigration form and it's glitching. I get to the airport, the lady's trying to help me. Eventually we get to a point where I can fill it all out, but there's one question that I can't answer. And the question is, what is the address of the place you're going? Now, the reason why I can't answer it is because I'm going to see Carter, and we talked a few days prior. He was supposed to text me all the information. One thing led to another. I didn't realize he never sent it to me because I'm thinking I just need the information to land, when I land and be able to go to the place. I wasn't really impressed about it. I wasn't thinking about the immigration form. And so I don't have the address. And so I'm like, shoot, I don't have the address. I did figure out the COVID test scenario, but if I don't get this form complete, they're not gonna let me on this plane. I do get to the airport about an hour and a half ahead of time. It's super busy. So I'm actually on pace to get to my flight on time until this glitch happens with the form. So now I'm scrambling. I'm like, okay, what can I do? I figured out a workaround for the COVID test. What can I figure out for this form? Because the only thing I couldn't answer was the address. So I ended up remembering that I came to Colombia in 2021. And then from there, what I did was I got that address and I copied and pasted it. I entered it into the form, but it didn't work. It recognized me and said, hey, you already have a pre-submitted registration for this address. We started the form all over again and I slightly tweaked the address, just making an educated guess to see if it would go through. That went through and I was able to complete the form. But at this time, yeah, I had missed my flight. Not only had I missed my flight, the reason why I couldn't expedite this process is I was calling Carter back to back. Carter, pick up the phone. But to his defense, it was 5:30 in the morning and he was on an island. He didn't hear his phone going off, and so it was a whole thing. But that was that. I didn't even care about missing the flight as long as I could catch another flight at that point, right? I'm already at the airport. So now I'm like, okay, we got the form figured out. We got everything we need for them to allow me on an airplane. So now let's get me on one. They tell me that there is another flight out to Medellin later on, but the connection flight, because there's no direct flights to Miami, is full and I'll be on standby. And I do not like flying standby because nothing else would piss me off if I waited in that airport, tried to get on the next flight, only for me not to be on the flight thinking that that was when I was going to be on, and now I have to figure out a new game plan. So I said, I don't like those odds. What is an alternative? And so she then proceeded to say, well, verbatim, she said, how adventurous are you? And I said, that's an interesting question. I think I'm very adventurous. Let's go for it. So she said, here's what we can do. We can put you on a flight from Atlanta to Charlotte, where I live, from Charlotte to Fort Lauderdale. Then you can get an Uber to the Miami airport. Because you have a layover until 5 p.m., you'll get there like around 2. You'll have plenty of time to get an Uber to that airport, recheck your bag, and then make your connection flight to Medellin. Because the flight from Atlanta to Miami was full, but not the flight from Miami to Medellin. So I said, what odds do I have? I'm not gonna lie, for a split second, I was like, I got a flight going back to Charlotte. Why not just go home, right? Why not just make it a one-way? Carter, let's make this thing virtual, or I'm gonna see you in a couple weeks anyway, let's make it happen. But I said, you know what? We've been pushing this off long enough. We're already almost at the end of Q1. Let's make it happen, right? And so I decided to trudge ahead with an hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep. This is all happening in less than 24 hours. From Charlotte to Atlanta, to speaking, to mixing and mingling with the people who came to the event who wanted to talk to me afterwards, to connecting with the host and her friends and network of friends, to sleeping for like an hour and a half, to then going back to the airport at 4 in the morning, not being able to get on my flight, then going from there to Atlanta to Charlotte, right? Having 5 minutes from the moment I land in Charlotte to catch my flight to Fort Lauderdale. Luckily, my first olive branch of the day, the flight was in the same terminal. So it was about two minutes away. So that was the one olive branch that I had. I'd have to run across the airport once the airport plane landed in Charlotte from Atlanta. Got on that plane to head to Fort Lauderdale, got off that plane, caught my Uber, and now I'm here in the American Express Lounge. I am exhausted, right? But I didn't get a chance to record this episode, and it is currently Sunday, the day before this is gonna go live, right? It's Sunday, and this is the last chance I had to record it because I thought I was gonna have time to do it in Atlanta on Saturday, but my flight got delayed. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I literally got to Atlanta just in time for the speaking engagement, and I thought I was gonna have time after, even if I didn't do it before, because I thought I was speaking at 7, I'd be in and out for an hour, not drinking, not mixing and mingling, but that didn't happen. And so success is inconvenient, because I could have very well said, it's not that deep. Just don't get it done. It's not gonna be the end of the world. But I think it's important to not just provide the content. I think there's a lesson in these experiences. And so I'm actually glad that I'm at a stage where I'm not like super batching the content, because it would, of course I could always tell this story, but it wouldn't be as like authentic, right? This is like literally in the moment. As you can tell, I'm in the Amex Lounge. I'm in the phone room. Somebody's probably want to try to kick me out here in a second. It was actually pretty full. And I'm here with you guys, right? Because I'm committed, but I also want to invite you into this journey, because I know there's somebody out here who wants to create more content, or who has just a bunch of things going on in life, and to let you know that everybody has things going on, right? And success is always going to be inconvenient. I'm lugging around 2 big suitcases around the airport. I think I did clip up one little video that we could add in as B-roll to show you guys, like literally like I'm doing all this so that I can show up and do what I need to do. Is it inconvenient to stick to my routine from a nutritional standpoint? And that was the other thing. So now I'm trying to find restaurants and places that have the exact food that I'm supposed to be eating, and versus just, typically when you travel, you indulge, and, cutting that out, having my water with a lime, where I might normally have a cocktail on my off time, and just really posting up this tripod in an American Express Lounge so that I can be consistent with this content, right? Could I have done more proactive planning and potentially got this done sooner? Sure, right? I'm not trying to fabricate drama for the sake of content, but this is just the reality of what happened. I'm sure many of you guys can attest. Sometimes life goes that way, right? And so I wanted to share that with you guys, because success in many ways will always, or at least in a lot of instances, be inconvenient. I forgot the fact that I actually had the tripod packed in my big suitcase. And then, because I thought I was going to record the content in Atlanta before leaving, never did. I took the tripod out of my big suitcase before letting them check it, put it down for 1 second as I'm zipping my suitcase back up to give to the lady at the kiosk. I turn around, my tripod's gone. I'm like, no way. This day couldn't get any worse. Mind you, this is my second tripod because 2 weeks ago when I went golfing, I wanted to get a better look at my swing. So I took my tripod out there so that I could film myself. And I think that's like called me right when I was leaving. Terrible multitasker, and ended up leaving my tripod there. So I was like, please no. But luckily, as I was looking around, somebody had the tripod in their hand. I was like, yes, that's mine. The gist of it is that success is going to be inconvenient. And if you can learn to commit regardless, if you can learn to show up, not make excuses, and understand that life is always going to have circumstances, right? Then you'll always be on the path to financial freedom, because when most people slow down for circumstances, you're going to keep plowing through it. I'm not telling you to ignore your body or not to rest. All I'm saying is there's always going to be things that could stop you from doing what you're going to do. But what is going to get you to your financial freedom fast lane is you staying committed to the journey regardless, right? Because think about it like a true journey. If you stopped to grab food every time you maybe were hungry just a little bit on your journey, or you had a half a tank of gas, you're like, you know what? I could probably go another 20 miles, but why not? I want to stretch my legs. I'll go ahead and get some gas. You know, if you always stopped every time that you could, you would never get to the destination. And if you did get to the destination, it would take you so much longer. So I thought this was a timely and relevant message to share. I hope that my storytelling was somewhat cohesive, because when I say that I am out of it, I am tired, but I'm so glad that I still committed and get this done, because one of the most important things in life is to make yourself proud. If you're looking to improve your self-esteem, simply do what you say you're gonna do. That will improve your self-esteem. If you watched my previous episodes I've recorded after midnight when my son's down, hoping that he doesn't wake up, right, for the night. I've recorded in a lot of variety. The first episode in this hoodie, as a matter of fact, must be my traveling hoodie. I was in New York, right? Because I said, you know what? Like, week has already passed. I'm supposed to be doing one every week in the new year. Let me go ahead and get this content done, right? And so I am just trying to lead from the front, because I believe that based upon where not just this show, but where my platform and the brand is going all together, that it's important to document this part of the process and highlight that things aren't perfect. It's always going to be something. This is a microcosm of life. Insert any scenario. Insert not feeling your best and being tired. Insert, having issues with employees, issues at work, issues with your girl, baby mama. It's always going to be something, right? And so if you can decide to be successful regardless, I promise you'll win in life. And I want to start closing out the show with this statement, because this circumstance reminded me of that. And it's that freedom is for sale if you're willing to pay the price, right? Freedom is for sale if you're willing to pay the price. And never forget that the quicker you get to your dream life, the longer you get to live it. Until next time.